The 2025 golf season is in full bloom at Golfdom and Worldwide Golf. The snow is gone, the grass is green, and the birds are singing, and hope abounds for the best golf season of your life. But you won't play your best with just any old discount equipment off the rack. You need clubs and a ball that fits your game, and that's where Golfdom comes in. Expert club fittings are not just for pros, it's for you and me. And I've personally seen the fitting ninjas at Golfdom extract distance and accuracy from everyday players just by putting them in the right shafts and lofts. When it comes to apparel, Golfdom is a fashionista's nirvana. Every major brand, all styles, and golf wear for every season and every condition. Bags, shoes, push carts, boom boxes, tees, gloves, training aids, towels, head covers, umbrellas, rangefinders, the list goes on and on. And they've got an armory of golf ball ammunition large enough to launch an assault on a Scottish castle. So just like the new season of the Capital Golf Gang being in full bloom, so too is golf season at Golfdom. Get into any location in the DMV, Tysons, Rockville, and Annapolis, or shop online at golfdomgolf.com, or wherever you go, look for the Worldwide Golf logo and get the best for your game.
In the shadow of the most powerful city in the world, the Capital Golf Gang is on the air with instructor John Ronis from the Ronis Academy at River Creek, Executive Director of the Middle Atlantic PGA, John Gould, and now your host in Washington, D.C., Steve Zabin.
All right, since it is now post-Memorial Day, boys, I want to say I am wearing shorts, sort of like the Live Tour here. And CJ, you wore pants today, and normally you're the shorts guy on the end.
I did.
What befell you today? A conscience of, God, the guys all wear pants to the golf show. Maybe I should too?
No. I had a couple other meetings I had to go to. So
That were pants required.
There were more pants. Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I changed while driving in the car from the jeans with grass all over them from weed eating this morning.
Did you really?
And work boots.
You changed in the
To
car?
this.
In your truck?
While I was driving.
Don't say that. That's
you
bad.
get stoplights and stuff like that because I was
okay.
down to Route 7. But at one point, I was driving with no pants or shoes on.
Which is called Tuesday for John Ronis.
That's right.
All right, boys. We are here. The Capital Golf Gang has been assembled yet again. Center fitting studio here at Golfdom in Tysons Corner, part of the Worldwide Golf Empire. John Ronis, Director of Golf at the newly resurrected Beacon Hill. Thank you very much. John, Buddy Christensen of Golfdom is with us, and Chris Johnson of the Salute Military Golf Association. CJ, how was your Memorial Day with the troops and the golfers?
It was great. On Saturday here in the DMV, our clinics wrapped up for the spring clinics at Northwest Golf Park over in Silver Spring, Maryland, where they actually, I think,
Northwest Park. My dad called that Northwest Territory.
I think
it was such a big yard, 7,000 yards plus from the back tees at Northwest Park.
I think they just had a U.S. Open qualifier there.
Oh, yeah.
Like a month and a half ago or a month ago, whatever, something like that, a few weeks ago, and they backed it up to like 74 or something.
Wow.
Oh, right. Yeah, it goes well beyond 7,000. Yeah.
Yeah, it
It's
was
like,
something
Stephen, that's the Northwest Territory, Northwest Park. He would play that occasionally
So back
in
then,
the day.
that is enormously long.
Yeah.
Right.
And
In the 1970s, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, it's a good golf course. It's in great shape, and they have a third nine actually. So that's what where we had the veterans out there on the inside nine to get out there with a few golf pros and a couple groups and learn the etiquette of the golf course and all that sort of stuff. Pace of play, which was a perfect example because the group that they let off right before our first group, the guy made a 16 on the hole on number one. I watched him.
A 16.
A 16.
At the qualifier.
No. This is at our.
This
is as we had the veterans out there. This is inside nine, and we get the veterans out there to teach them on the golf course, teach them etiquette, teach them how to play, teach them where to stand, all that stuff. After they've gone through, a series of 6 lessons.
Okay, but a 16 for a beginner.
The group before they went out.
Yeah, the group before.
So the normal
unaffiliated. Yeah.
So we've got 4 groups of veterans that are about to start, and go off
And they watch
one after
that.
the other, play a little scramble, learn how to, get out on the golf course. And the group that they've got to stand around and watch, the guy made, and it was no joke. It was a legit 16. So I had to turn around and walk back to the marshal and be like, hey, I just want to make sure you know that we're not going to be the groups holding up this golf course today.
Right.
If you allow this guy to make 16s on, a 295-yard par 4.
So the joke is, how'd you make 16? Well, I lipped one out for 15.
Yeah.
That's the joke.
Yeah.
Reminds me also of Kramer losing it over having to play public courses.
Chester Country Club was letting me play around every time I gave him a couple of those Cuban cigars. Yeah? Yeah, well, I lost them all in the fire. Hey, George, maybe you can ask Susan's father for some more, huh?
You crazy? I can't ask the guy for more cigars after you burned down his cabin.
Why, what's one thing got to do with another?
Kramer, please.
Well, I can't go back to the public courses now.
I can't.
I can't.
I won't.
I mean, you know what that's like? It's crowded. The grass has big brown
patches
in it. They don't rake the sand
Sand
traps. Not to mention the caliber of
People you have to play with. Still one of the all-time greats. Only Larry David, a golfer at heart, would be able to write that so accurately. Yeah. I love the desperation in his voice. I can't. I won't. Well, find a nice public course on a day in which there's not people making a 16. How about that? Okay, let's get into what was 2 great stories this week. One on the regular tour, one on the senior tour right here in our backyard. Golf is both a redemption game as well as a perseverance game, and we had 2 incredible examples this weekend. Let's start, however, with the perseverance game aspect of it, as Ben Griffin, former stockbroker for a period of time and maybe I forget what his job was, his actual suit and tie job, when he gave up his pursuit of being a PGA Tour player. But he goes back to golf, gets back on tour, gets his card, and then wins Colonial, a field that had Scotty Scheffler in it, and gets all that the trappings belong of the winner's check, in addition to being what was the winner's check? Couple million? $1.5 million?
Sure, it was probably close to $2 million. Yeah.
Exemptions into the Masters, into this, into that, into this, into that, and everything else. And he talked about his journey and what it meant to him, to win this thing wearing that wonderful, and I say that with all sort of sincerity, plaid jacket that goes to the winner.
Had a lot of key putts for par there on the last couple holes. Talk about keeping your composure when you kind of got in some tough situations.
Yeah, the scrambling is what put me in the seat here today. I'm very confident in my short game. I credit that going back to junior golf. My parents did so much for me growing up. They got hit hard by the recession. The 2008 recession, and so they invested a lot in me being able to, practice and compete. I didn't spend very much money on range balls. I was at a public golf course, and I would chip and putt all day. I'd hit maybe a half bucket of balls for $5 or whatever it was. And my parents, they always considered themselves middle to upper class, but I knew there for a little bit when we lost our house, when we lost everything. I know they sacrificed a lot for me. And I credit a lot of my, success down the stretch today to, my short game. It kept me in it, and that's what I did as a kid. That's what helped my short game be so good down the stretch today.
How about that?
That's pretty cool.
Have at it, boys.
Well, on that topic there, obviously there's a lot more to that, right?
Yeah.
But as far as the kids that you grew up playing against, you could tell the kids that had driving ranges on their golf courses because 80% of the driving range, 80% of the golf courses back then didn't even have a driving range.
Sure.
So the kids who didn't have a driving range, like myself, you just sat there all day long until you were allowed to tee off, and you just chipped and putt.
What course was this?
Well, I had Maynard Country Club. I grew up at River Bend, and River Bend didn't have a driving range, but
it had a crude one when I was in high school in the 1980s.
I was high school.
I was not a member, obviously, but it was a tiny range behind the tennis courts that required at times, and I can't believe this is the case, some of the juniors that were members there to pick the range by hand with helmets that had cages around the head.
I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt that was the case.
Back end of the range. I'm not kidding you. I remember guys that were members there, kids that were on the Langley golf team that said, have to pick the range wearing the special helmet to keep our heads from getting taken off. You're not in front of the tee. You're on the back end. But you're vulnerable to a pelt of the body.
Right, and it was wedged between two holes at Riverbend. I then went to Massachusetts, Maynard Country Club and Marlboro Country Club. There wasn't a course I ever was a member at that had a range, actually. And then the course that I even started teaching at, 10 hours a day, had a range wedged between. It was only for teaching, no range. So that's how you become great at it. Now, sacrifice is, parental sacrifice for every sport is you cannot ever pay them back for that. Monetarily, I guess you can, but this guy's they lost their house and stuff like that. It's crazy, right? So, look, when all of us who are here, we're all privileged now, right? All of us in this room.
Yeah.
And most of it, almost all of it, is our parents putting us in the position to either do it or not do it. He did it. He did it himself, but his parents were the people who sacrificed. And there was a lot of people around him who also probably sacrificed and gave him a free range balls or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, he did it himself. So that's the emotion that's coming out because he knew he achieved something that was literally a lifelong dream.
Well, it was so cool when he was just talking through it. He was like, I got this short game, and I know I've got it because that's what I practiced. And then he started to pull in why he practiced angle. That way. And then all of a sudden, and that's when that emotion hits. Like, oh, my God. He respected what his parents did all along. But at that one moment, he realized how cool that was and how important that was and what ended up being a win.
Yeah, I would go to, I don't think you would get this press conference on a Live Tour event.
knew that was way to go, CJ. I knew that was coming.
Here we go. Exactly right. He left. He dropped out of the pro ranks to go get a regular job during COVID-19. So around 2020, he played at North Carolina. Turned pro in 2018. Had a little bit of success on the tour and on the Canadian tour on the Corn Ferry. But golf's hard, and there's a ton of Ben Griffins out there.
Yeah.
And they're all really, really good. So he's like, this ain't the life for me, and he went to go work a real job. And then he realized, oh, yeah, real jobs suck. I'll take the pressure of being on tour if I can do it. So got back in 2021, got his Corn Ferry tour card, then finished runner-up in a couple events on the Corn Ferry Tour, got his PGA card in 2023, and then started to win. Won at the Zurich Classic with partner Andrew Novak, and followed that up with this Charles Schwab now with a sick short game up and down we're going to show you here in just a second.
Now, I am a marginal watcher of golf on TV. I've actually started to watch a lot more on TV. But I tuned in when I saw his name up there to watch the end of this
Really,
tournament.
just to see it,
and
huh?
So that's what you would never get on the Live Tour, right, CJ? There would be no story that would be worth tuning into because of Masters and, first-time winner and that kind of emotion in a press conference. So I wanted him to win because I knew, kind of the backstory.
So here he was chipping out of the heavy Bermuda rough on 18, needing to get up and down because his opponent – Schmid, first name is eluding me at the moment. Matthias Schmid, he chipped in from the rough to make it a situation where if you don't get up and down, we're going to a playoff.
Right.
And he has got the ball way above his feet in the heavy Bermuda. You know how hard it is to gauge how it's going to come out of that. And he chokes all the way up on his wedge, literally halfway to the hosel. Yeah. Look at that right there.
It's incredible.
And pulls off just this incredible chip shot to go ahead and set up a nervy 3.5-footer in order to get the win. I'm trying to find. I had this chip here somewhere. I want to play you the video of it because it's really, really amazing. But there's the still pictures of it there, and talk about no hinge backswing, change direction by turning towards the target when your feet is above the ball.
Come on.
What? You don't like this instruction here from good old golf.com? Here's how to hit his cool shot.
Give me a break. I mean, he could also hit a curveball with a wiffle ball, and he could play pool, and he can play ping pong and all the other. That's pure athleticism.
It is. And also hours and hours and hours of chipping
fooling
at the public
around.
course, right?
Yeah. You're not going to chip a normal chip for 3 hours before you go tee off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon because that's when you're allowed. You're going to hit crazy shots, buried lies, balls in sides of bunkers.
Okay.
That's why he knows how to do it.
Well, the other thing about that up and down is I was in and out Sunday afternoon, but he was up by 4 or 5 shots at one point.
He was up by a lot, yeah.
So he kind of had it in control. Now
here it is
right
here.
Doesn't.
I think 14-10 is when we're at one point.
Yeah.
Here it is right here. Okay, tell me what you see here when we watch this, all right?
Nice. How good is this?
Ooh, that's 4 feet right there.
3 feet, 3.5 feet.
Not 3.5 feet. Look at that.
I can't remember seeing anybody choke down that much.
No.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
I also can't remember anyone wearing regular just,
straight up sunglasses.
7-Eleven sunglasses.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. He did. He did.
There you go. Matthias Schmid. Jim Nantz with the hometown call, Dallas boy, down in Dallas.
And
what?
Not to separate ourselves from this, but did you see the sighting of the guy in orange on the green?
Yeah, Rick Fowler. Rick Flowers. I'm glad to see Rick Flowers playing well again.
I know. That was great to see.
Yeah.
He just got a exemption to play this week in the Memorial.
He did. Spieth did as well. Oh, good. As did, I think, Webb Simpson. They keep handing out the candy to the same guys. Same guys that keep showing up at the so here's the putt to win it. Look at how good dead in the heart that is.
It's amazing.
That putt is even better. And there goes the 7-Eleven sunglasses and the hat, and away you go.
Did you see his interview after Saturday?
No.
He talked about this dream he had about missing putts and throwing putters in the river.
Shut up.
Oh, sorry.
That was me.
That was a different story.
That was me, you dum-dum.
Things.
Stop it with that, will you? Okay. Also, as part of the win, he gets this Land Rover. That is a 1992 Land Rover. There it is right there. And you might wonder, well, what is that all about? It's a vintage car. And this is part of the Charles Schwab Challenge because they say that it's part of his prize because it's a long-standing tradition at the tournament where the winner gets a classic car. The Defender was custom-built by Legacy Classic Trucks and features Schwab's true blue color scheme and badging. And they say that it is considered an antique now.
Interesting.
It's almost 35 years old, right?
Sure.
Adding to the unique nature of the prize.
And it's a different car each time?
Yeah. They had
rebuild?
like a Corvette.
Yeah.
Cool.
There's some really cool cars in there.
Yeah, I remember wasn't it Kevin Nog immediately gave it to his caddy, Kenny?
Yeah.
It's like a Corvette or something.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about also the irony, novelty, symmetry, I'm not sure what word I'm looking for here, of Ben Griffin, who became a mortgage broker briefly with Charles Schwab, an investment company.
Yeah, interesting.
Financial kind of thing. Yeah. And it is I do need to do some research as to exactly why the recession hit his parents so hard and why they lost their home, because that's a pretty severe outcome for middle to upper class America. It's not quite like my dad's in prison, my mom's a drug addict story, which does happen in sports. But for golf, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
For the often privileged world of golf, it's pretty good as a story.
Well, the other thing with Schwab, if you noticed, and they were mainly at the bottom, but like Corey Pavin played, and Olin Brown.
Oh, wow.
So some of these
Olin Brown still golfs?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yes.
Corey Pavin was using the Cleveland VAS.
Exactly. So they must be past champions that they bring back.
Exempt in? Okay. All right, so that's a great redemption story. Now, or perseverance story. Now for the redemption story. Angel Cabrera wins at Congressional, making up for lost time. This is now his second major in 6 days. Something about the senior tour needs to revamp their schedule. The region's tradition was the other major a week before. And this was rain delayed to Monday. He won that, and then he wins at Congressional, overtaking Paddy Harrington down the stretch. This is incredible, this story. He was in prison for 30 months.
Yeah.
2 different countries, some very bad sexual assault charges that he was convicted of. He has said, made his full apologies for his past actions. He has paid his debt to the state, not even our state, but another country. And he gets out, and he's won 3 times now in 5 starts.
And his first start was, I told you, up at that PGA Tour of Americas, where he came in 30th place or something like that.
How is this even possible? Did he have like a hitting bay in prison?
No, it's just like Scotty said, he warmed up in prison. That was a first.
I mean, what are you? Is the inmate next to him hearing these sounds of?
This is.
Oh, looks like Angel's practicing again. They smuggled in a impact screen and some balls for him.
That's a good one.
That's crazy.
This is a classic case of probably no instruction in his life.
Very little.
So there's no mechanical thoughts that are in your brain. It's just, I know how to play golf. He's hot, obviously. Probably the putter is good for him right now. But this is just someone who can just step right back on the bike because it's not all these thoughts in my brain. Not to mention, I've been out for 30 months. How am I going to recoup this? And where's the head supposed to be and all this stuff? It's just, okay, I'm out. Let's go.
Go play golf.
Yeah.
So in other words, he's playing with a clear head.
I think he's always had a clear head.
And a happy heart that he's been given this second chance in life, that he's figured it out. Also, let's credit something called sobriety. Apparently he had a big drinking problem, and nothing will cure that quite like being in the can for 30 months. So that's it as well. He has always had such a great action, hasn't he?
He still does.
And he still does, just a little bit older. I wouldn't even say a little bit fatter because, honestly, he was always kind of rounded, shall we say, when he played. El Pato, the Duck, his nickname because of how he walked. I thought peak El Pato was when he beat Tiger at Oakmont in 07.
Yeah.
Won the Masters 2 years later in 09, but 07, something else.
And never really like a Sevy fiery guy. Just kind of played golf. And even when he beat Tiger, I don't think he was, over exuberant.
No.
He always played his best golf in the majors.
Yes.
The guy who won
he was like a big game hunter. He was like Joe Flacco of golf. He'll show up when the big games are there. I remember 15 at Oakmont, downhill, long par 4 with a sliding fairway that actually looked more terrifying once they took the trees all down because you could see it all laid out in front of you. And he just got up there and just ripped this blistering cut like it was no big deal. Didn't faze him at all. He's got Tiger Woods on his back. He was prime.
He was right there. I mean, he could be in that elite group of getting to 3 majors. If he loses to Adam Scott at the Masters.
I forgot that one. Yes.
Right. Could have got his 3rd.
That was the Adam Scott one right there.
Right. Yeah.
So what do you guys make of this redemption story? And is there anything do we have to tiptoe around the rather significant sentence that he was given and the crimes that he was convicted of? Or is there any tiptoeing left to be done?
Yeah. Look, to be politically correct, you're going to have to tiptoe around it all the time because there's, it's a domestic abuse situation. Right. It's not like
I guess my question is
anything is bad. But at this point, let's face it. No matter who you are, if you serve your time that was brought to you in the courts, you serve your time. Now let's see if you can make the best of that time. We don't know what he's doing behind the scenes. He might be going to clinics and shelters and all the other stuff. We have no idea. So do we have to tiptoe around it because we have to sound good? Yeah, but, look, he did
I guess my question, CJ, was can we celebrate the Angel Cabrera story?
My guess would be that the PGA of America, the membership at Congressional, everybody associated with the senior PGA this past week would have preferred Padraig Harrington to win that tournament.
No question.
Everybody loves Potty.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
preferred,
think,
but you don't think they're at all like, oh God.
I think that
the jailbird. Oh my God.
I think
you're right.
I think
they are.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I think there are definitely people that were. I mean, it was flying around on text messages like. I know enough people that are members at Congressional, and they were like,
I can't
not
believe
exactly the champion we were hoping to have this week.
Did anyone watch it on TV?
Yeah, I did.
I did too.
I watched the highlights on YouTube.
Did anything stick out to you that there were 12 people following the final group?
Oh, yeah. My brother was following the final group, and he was telling me there was nobody out.
There was no one there.
Yeah.
There was no one there.
Nobody there.
I do want to riff on that. So can we put a pin on that real quick,
sorry.
buddy? What do you think about how much can we lean into and celebrate this redemption story?
Well, and I was a little bit surprised that it seems like there's celebrating about it. It didn't seem like there's this problem that we got to have to get past. But I got to imagine the people that are running the tournament, that are connected to the tournament, would have rather somebody else win it.
I would imagine any other two-time major winner that had been removed from the game of golf for 30 months for something that was not of their own doing, a car accident or something like that, and then comes back and starts winning if they're American. So you need both a American and non-problematic absence to make this a real feel-good, wow, he's back and he's winning.
Yeah, and you would have seen the footage of Venturi and heat stroke and all the other stuff if it was an American and if it was not
He also doesn't speak much English. Yeah. So
I don't think there's anybody that feels like there's a redemption story here. It's kind of like it's amazing that he can just be away from it.
Am I the only guy that thinks it's a redemption story? Maybe I am.
I don't feel like it's a redemption story.
I think you're right.
True redemption would be going out and speaking the word at clinics and stuff about domestic violence. That's where the true redemption would come from, or living a clean life.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm using the wrong word in terms of redemption.
It's a very good word, and that's why it's debatable.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
Just like you said, celebrate versus – another word.
Accept.
Celebrate's very debatable.
Celebrate versus accept.
Yeah.
I accept it, or I'm okay with it versus
both are
celebrate.
Debatable. It's a very good topic.
Yeah,
actually.
I think the majority of people would look at it and go, this guy committed some heinous acts.
Right.
He went to prison for them, and now he's let out of prison and able to just go make millions of dollars on fantastic golf courses and back to living sort of a, somewhat charmed life. Now, like you said, we have no idea what's going on off the golf course that he's doing to make himself a better person for this world or helping other people. We don't know that, but just the optics of it aren't the best.
Right. Well, some would argue that he was not given any of this. He qualified under the rules, and he's earned the paychecks that he is, unlike, Michael Vick was given a contract.
Yeah.
Michael Vick was redeemed in some people's eyes way too quickly for similarly heinous crimes, albeit against dogs.
And the redemption is not on the golf course. The redemption is off the golf course. So is he truly going to redeem himself? We'll find out off the golf course. On the golf course, it's his living.
Yeah.
And you need a couple bucks in the bank to pay the rent.
Yeah. No, I'm an El Pato fan. Yeah. I was back then. Sorry that he ended up in such a bad situation and did all that, but I'm glad he's back, and what a story.
What about the fact that he's won the two majors with an Odyssey Jailbird putter?
The very putter. CJ, go grab that if you can. Go grab the Jailbird putter that Ronis brought in today.
The square to square.
To trade in. We've got the trade market. There's going to be shams bombs flying, buddy, as both I and Mr. Ronis have brought in putters to trade in. There it is, the Jailbird cruiser length? No, 35 inch.
No, 35.
Okay.
Yep. Square to square.
Square to square. It's getting traded in now.
Yep.
It'll be on the rack here in about 45 minutes.
Back in the corner.
It'll be. You know what? It'll be sold quickly.
It'll sell.
You think so?
Because it's brand new.
Have you seen the back room of Misfit Toys?
Oh, this is why this is here.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of them back there.
I know, but
don't be so confident. I found my putter there a week later,
you
and I thought
one of two.
One of them.
Okay, fine.
There's going to be another one.
I'll find the other one today.
I'm going to get some.
It's a Scotty Cameron.
Get some for my son.
So anyway, irony. The Jailbird. What's the matter? You doesn't make putts?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
different.
doesn't make
I'm a little
putts.
more of a traditionalist.
Doesn't make
Let's just
putts.
say
He's
that.
got
Tried
to
it.
make putts.
Tried it.
The 2025 golf season is in full bloom at Golfdom and Worldwide Golf. The snow is gone, the grass is green, and the birds are singing, and hope abounds for the best golf season of your life. But you won't play your best with just any old discount equipment off the rack. You need clubs and a ball that fits your game, and that's where Golfdom comes in. Expert club fittings are not just for pros, it's for you and me. And I've personally seen the fitting ninjas at Golfdom extract distance and accuracy from everyday players just by putting them in the right shafts and lofts. When it comes to apparel, Golfdom is a fashionista's nirvana. Every major brand, all styles, and golf wear for every season and every condition. Bags, shoes, push carts, boom boxes, tees, gloves, training aids, towels, head covers, umbrellas, rangefinders, the list goes on and on. And they've got an armory of golf ball ammunition large enough to launch an assault on a Scottish castle. So just like the new season of the Capital Golf Gang being in full bloom, so too is golf season at Golfdom. Get into any location in the DMV, Tysons, Rockville, and Annapolis, or shop online at golfdomgolf.com, or wherever you go, look for the Worldwide Golf logo and get the best for your game. All right, let's talk about the crowd. So the weather was absolutely minty perfect all weekend long. A little bit of rain on the front end, but once it cleared out, my goodness, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, bang, bang, bang. Congressional, the mighty Congressional, redone by the great Andrew Green, our friend of the show, and firm and fast. You know, when I played it, the one time I played it since Andrew Green did his magic to it, it was still growing in. And it was thick and kind of sticky. Mm-hmm. So the notions that he wanted to introduce of bigger greens with swales and humps and whoop-de-woos didn't come into play because it was just not fast enough. I could see how fast it was playing.
Yeah.
And yet, CJ, a friends and family size crowd, what gives?
I just think you don't have a lot of signature names that are playing there. This isn't the senior tour that when we were sort of, 25 years ago when there was Jack and Arnie and Trevino and some of those guys that were Tom Watson, some of those. You just don't have enough, there's not enough eyeballs on what used to be the senior tour, the Champions Tour anymore. The majors aren't a big deal on TV. I don't even think the Golf Channel really treats it like they used to treat it before.
Really?
And so
the two stars that matter are Tiger and Phil.
Well, that's
Tiger is hurt, and Phil's playing in shorts.
But Phil could have played, right?
He could have, I believe.
Oh yeah, he could have played.
Because
No. He's not. He's
they
not
would
on
have
the
had
PGA
to have given
Tour.
him an exemption.
No, it's not a PGA Tour thing. It's PGA of America.
Lee Westwood played.
Lee Westwood played. There were live guys in there.
Yeah,
Phil has yet to choose to play
right.
on the senior tour because he doesn't feel like
No.
He has played.
He played early
was
before
winning.
he went to live. He won
How
a few
many?
times. I want to say he won 3 or 4 times.
God, I must have missed that. How did I miss that?
Yeah.
No, he did.
Did he take a cart?
I don't know.
I think he was
Not with those
playing
calves.
before he won the PGA Championship at Kiawah. I think
Yes.
he had won a couple senior tour events already or Champions Tour events.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so not as many stars. There was a lot of names that people would have known. Okay, I know 2 of my colleagues. Andy Poland went out there, believe it or not, CJ, with his daughter and his granddaughter.
Free ticket though. Free tickets.
Well, that's free ticket Andy for you. I told him, I said, Andy, the game is waiting for you to come back. If you want, we'll give you free lessons. And he's like, nope. I tried it once. No good. Don't like it.
I'd love to know how many tickets were actually sold.
Well, I don't know what the plan there was, but I don't think they did a great job of exposing it and really letting this market know.
Well, if they spent money on the Capital Golf Gang, maybe we would have talked it up.
Exactly. Well, the other thing is that tournament moves around like the senior would, so it's not a staple.
It's been here before.
It has been here at Trump, but it's not a staple here. So it's not in people's routine. So they need to do a good job of saying, hey, guys, this is here. You can go see Congressional, which is a cool experience anyway, and see some of these great players. I mean, you're right.
Memorial Day weekend, too.
And a beautiful Memorial Day weekend, too.
And we're talking Loudoun County and Montgomery County are maybe top 2 wealthiest counties in the United States. So a lot of those people are going away to their beach house and, whatever it is on that weekend. So that's a tough weekend as well.
Yeah, I remember going to Trump. I didn't go this weekend, but I remember going to Trump. I went a couple days, I think, out there because Jimmy Estes he actually finished as the low amateur in that tournament that year. And
Club Pro.
Yeah. Yep. And there weren't great crowds out there either at Trump.
In the 90s, though, and we all remember it in this market, the PGA Tour annual stop right around Memorial Day weekend, but not usually on it. It was usually a weekend after, if I recall, would draw massive crowds to TPC Avenel to watch the likes of Frank Licklider or Tom Shearer or Bob Estes,
Billy Glasson,
or Bill Glasson,
Morris
or Ben
Satowski.
Curtis.
It was this week coming up because I know that because Woodmont had the tour qualifying, the U.S. Open qualifying, and all the top pros would be playing at Woodmont because they'd be playing in the Kemper or whatever it was at the time, and then they would come on Monday and play at Woodmont. That was crazy.
Grant Waite.
Sure.
Wait.
So we used to have golf as a thing to go to in the DMV. And here was a thing that should have been a bigger thing, and it was a complete dud. Don't understand that.
My first golf media job ever was the U.S. Senior Open at Congressional, and I want to say that was 1995, I think.
It was 95.
And the crowds were huge. But the Senior Tour was so different back then. Like I was saying earlier, Jack played in that tournament.
You're damn straight I did.
I think he had a hole in one.
He had a hole in one on seven.
Oh, that's
seven,
right.
Par 3.
Yep.
And I remember because I was a spotter for NBC. And,
wow.
And they had me running around. It was a really cool job, actually. There was the pro from up in like Frederick area.
Donnie Hammond?
No, Ringer.
Oh, Larry Ringer.
Larry Ringer. Yeah. He made a run early in the tournament or something.
I think he was leading after the first day.
Yeah.
So the first day, I remember I was with Lee Trevino's group, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking down the fairways with Trevino, and I'm I don't know, 7 or 8 holes in, and they're like, "Hey, we need you to run to 13 to go follow this guy Ringer." And I'm like, "No, I want to stay with Trevino. I don't want a club pro from Maryland or whatever." But they were like, "No, you got to go over there because this guy's leading, and we need to start showing him on TV and stuff."
By the way, you know where Larry is now? He's out at Loudoun. And I see him
yeah?
teaching the youth out there. Has the best attitude on life I've ever seen. He's battled some health issues, but great guy, great pro. And when you bring up that he was leading the Senior Open, he's very humble about it. You know, he's like, yeah, for one round.
That's all right.
So there was that.
No round.
So, I mean, at some point, CJ, I yearn for the days of a regular tour stop that's in the late spring, early summer, that I don't care who comes and who wins. Let's all gather, people. It was a party at Avenel every year.
Yeah.
Great.
It was.
Now, remember the last –
How do we get back to that?
Remember we sat out on my brother's porch during the last tournament at Avenel, and it was a monsoon.
Yeah, very rainy, very cold that weekend. Yeah, it caught a cold snap. That was when Sergio was caught on a hot mic saying, "I can't wait to leave this freaking tour."
Yeah.
And there you go.
Max Homo, right? That was
that was Max's second win, I want to say. Yeah, also, Phil did win 4 times on the Senior Tour. Good job, CJ. I don't know where I was. I didn't even pay attention to that. I just assumed that he wasn't playing because he figures it'd be too easy.
No, right when he came out, right when he turned 50, he played in some.
And he was doing both. He was bouncing back from
Okay. All right. On the injury front, Will Zalatoris put out this statement. This really stinks for a promising young player who's had a lot of health issues. He says, sharing a health update, this spring I've started feeling some discomfort and instability in my back. Progressively got worse following the PGA. An MRI showed I had re-herniated 2 discs. After discussing options with my medical team, I underwent surgery this past Friday, and he said he woke up feeling good, excited about his long-term health, but it's going to be a long road back. John Ronas, you've had back issues, back surgeries, debilitating back pain. You seem to be okay now. We haven't heard about it in a long time. Either you're not complaining anymore or you're better. Are you better?
Yeah.
Good.
No,
I'm glad to hear it.
I am better.
So how do you feel about this, given that Zalatoris recently was out for how long with what was his injury prior to this? Was it back as well?
It was back.
Was it thumb or something like that?
And then I think something like a full wrist or something like that.
This stinks, right?
It
This
does
is
stink.
a fact of life for everybody, especially golfers, though.
It does stink, but there's two ways to look at this also in the scope of things. There's a getting back to everyday life, out of pain, that kind of stuff. And then there's getting back to being a supreme athlete, right? So it's really hard after surgeries to get back to being that skilled in the sport.
Sure.
Getting back to regular life, though, where I am, I think is pretty they're pretty good at it these days.
Okay. Well, we hope that he gets back, after this latest setback and has a career. He was so hot as one of these young players. Like, look out for Willie Z. Here he goes. Yeah. Had a top 5 finish at the Masters. Everyone was talking about him. Contended up at Brookline. Remember that?
Yeah.
Playoff of the PGA Championship.
Playoff of the PGA Championship as well. So,
but he got his logo figured out in his time down too, I guess.
Does he have a logo?
Look at it. Pull it up.
Oh, hold on a second. What did I do with that there?
With the Z in the
W and the Z. It's kind of.
Oh, there it is, right there.
Oh, there it is. Oh, wow. It almost looks like a Commander's kind of thing a little bit.
That guy had nothing wrong with his game except for 3-footers.
Oh my God!
Remember the putting stroke?
Yeah.
Yeah. The worm cam angle is enough to give you shivers.
Why'd you have to bring that up?
He made Billy Mayfair look like
he did.
back straight through.
Yeah.
But he made him.
I know he did.
He made him enough to contend in the biggest golf tournaments in the world.
Yeah, it was really
which
bad.
tells you something right there. I don't know what it tells you, but it tells you something. Okay. Meanwhile, I want to ask about something that I am convinced is a rules violation that was not ruled as such. This is Tommy Fleetwood. This past, I think it was at Colonial, right? This happened?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, here was the putt over the weekend. Take a look. 20-footer, hangs on the lip. He strokes his magnificent mane of hair, stares at the ball, takes his leisurely time walking up to it, approaches it like one would a live rattlesnake on the ground, cautiously, circles, takes another look, bends over, realizes gravity is real. Next thing you know, and we have, boom.
How much was it? I saw you count.
23.
23 seconds.
Now, here's the thing. It's supposed to be 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Supposed to be 10, and I saw debates about, well, it's 10 seconds after you have proceeded to go up to the hole, or it's 10 seconds from when you are reasonably sure that it stopped moving. I hear it's 10 and I'm like, yeah, but this was 28 seconds minimum.
23. I just
23.
counted.
It is literally. Well, hold on a second. Let's scrub
unless
this.
my counting's not good.
I saw
All
you
right,
counting
putt
it,
stops right there. We're at 7. Okay.
Oh, I didn't count the length of the putt. I counted
No.
as soon as it stopped.
It stopped.
Okay.
It stops. Look at the time.
Wow.
7 seconds.
Yep.
Okay, we're at 7 right there.
Okay.
All right, now let's zoom ahead to it falling in, and the moment, there you go, 34.
Okay.
27 seconds.
Okay.
How was that not ruled? Sorry, it's an extra stroke.
This is always something that I ask about because if you're looking at the ball teetering, it's moving.
Right.
So are we starting 10 seconds?
Okay.
Right?
But one could argue that it was not moving for 20 of the 27 seconds.
Why?
Because it wasn't.
But
It
wouldn't
might
it
have been
restart?
moving very slowly.
It's also a judgment call, too. Like, let's say you had, like, Constantino Roca's putt from the British Open that went up and down and it was 90 or 120 feet away.
Right.
It's going to take you 10 seconds to walk
get up
120
there.
feet to go there and to get up there anyways. Like, that was a short putt that Fleetwood hit. But depending on the length of it, you got to factor that in, like walking to then look and address and like all
right,
of that.
so-
I mean, Gould would know exactly, but I think it's more when you're close and you're
reasonably
addressing.
So
it.
he walks past the hole at 24. So if that's the case,
I think
24,
he's reading the putt. He's reading the next putt.
24 to 34 is 10 seconds. So it's he should have aim pointed that thing. So you bring up an interesting question, Ronas, I'd never considered. How do we know the ball is still moving in a tiny micro fashion that we can't see?
Yeah. Well, you can.
You assume it is. I believe it's possible that a ball comes to full rest on the edge of the cup, and then once gravity, which is invisible, keeps pulling on it with the hole next to it, that the grass underneath the ball's like, and then the little blades of grass wilt, and then it moves again. So in other words, it's possible, even though it's undetectable, that the ball truly stops and then falls in once gravity does its trick. The other thought is, well, it couldn't have fully stopped. It has to be moving a tiny bit. Otherwise, why would it?
It wouldn't restart. Usually object in motion stays in motion.
I believe that's Newton's first law or something like
yes.
that. What is that law of gravity?
Newton's law of connectivity.
Objects in motion stay in motion.
Coming to a science.
I mean, you also have him walking around creating movement on
vibration,
the ground.
right?
You have wind, things like that.
That's it.
He's
right.
not. Fleetwood's not causing any vibration. He weighs 106 pounds.
Well,
maybe his hair blowing in the wind.
Listen, anyone who has ever owned a dog that you don't want to wake up in the morning knows how you can't walk softly enough. You're like, nope. It feels those vibrations. So
I know that.
it doesn't really matter. But now that you bring it up, I'm like, does the ball really stop, or could it restart once gravity pulls it down on the edge of the cup where the grass blades are like, I can't hold it anymore.
That's why when the ball falls in the hole, when they're prancing around and stuff, and it takes 20 or 30 seconds, and then the ball falls in the hole and they penalize them, I just think that's absolutely ridiculous, because I think the ball was moving the whole time. At some point, it was moving.
Yeah,
that's the assumption
to get to that ultimate
but now,
spot.
But you're not factoring wind.
I get it, but at some point it started moving again.
Well, no, but the reason why they have the 10-second rule is because wind is real, and wind will blow in a ball that has come to a full stop.
Fair enough.
If it's close enough.
Yep. Fair enough.
Or vibrations or the shadow. There is also the notion of, that's always a joke, put your shadow over it. It might wilt the blades a bit and have it fall in. Is that legal or not? I guess Gould should be here for that.
Yeah, he should.
No, it is legal. You just can't. You have to do it in 10 seconds.
Can you jump next to the ball?
No.
How about a heavy clump?
You can clap your hands real loud.
How about a trip over your putter?
Well, the other thing is,
how about just a nudge with your putter?
How about a forceful flatulence in the direction of?
It's allowed.
Well, the other thing is, it's hard to see a golf ball moving, right, with it all white. But luckily for Tommy, he plays the picks, where you can see all those marks and know, okay, that is moving a little bit.
Okay, you want to see if you can see it moving here?
Look at the triangles. Up.
Don't zoom out, cameraman. Zoom in.
Yeah, he should just zoom right in. See, even
Zoom
this
in,
guy's,
for God's
who's he
sakes.
playing with? Because he's even looking at it like, I think that might be moving, Tommy. If you could just blow on it. Yeah, there's a little movement.
If you scrub it back and forth.
There's a little movement.
Are you sure, or is that the camera moving right there?
I don't know.
By the way, people listening to the podcast are like, would you please move on? We can't see any of this.
Right.
Well, go look up the Fleetwood putt that hung on the cup that he was awarded with a successful putt, even though it was 27 seconds.
Yep.
Well, and John will have the right answer, but they either got to come out and say, hey, this was okay, or this is no longer okay.
And why it's okay.
And
give an explanation on the
so
ruling.
We start to know
it wasn't 10.
what it is. Right.
We know it wasn't 10.
Right. Can you imagine the arguments at your club over something like
absolutely.
this? Can you imagine just how they would be?
Yeah.
Okay. This is for a friend of mine who is a big Arcos guy, and I know, Ronas, you're an Arcos guy, and I'm not against data. I'm not against stats. I would still have Arcos if it was more accurate and didn't have so many false readings. But Patty Harrington talked about the fallacy of knowing all your stats in the game of golf.
One of the worst things you can do on the golf course is judge and analyze. And after, let's say, 26 holes, I knew I'd missed 2 greens this week and hit a couple of par 5s. That's horrible information to have in your head. You shouldn't be aware of how many fairways or how many greens, because we don't play fairways and greens, we play score. Like, again, you could ask yourself the question, would you rather be 15 feet away from the hole on the fringe or 20 feet away from the hole in the green?
Fringe.
15 feet in the fringe, but you've missed the green. You can see what I'm saying. You get caught up in when you're playing well like that. You get caught up in hitting fairways and hitting greens, which isn't always what you want to do on a windy day. Sometimes missing on the short side in the rough on a tee shot to leave yourself. Like I hit a bad tee shot on 5 up the right hand side, but I'd only 150 yards left out of rough, whereas if you missed on the left hand side, you probably had 190 yards. So sometimes a good miss is better than even a shot like if I hit it down the fairway and that, I might have had 180 yards, but I kind of cut across the dog leg, even though it wasn't a good drive. It was in the rough. It was the sensible miss in the conditions.
All right, so that's Patty Harrington.
He should just be. That should be your alarm clock in the morning.
Hearing that is glorious.
It should just pop on, and it's Patty Harrington talking. He's great.
He makes a great point. Once upon a time, many moons ago, before Arcos, this nerd here kept detailed stats of all his golf rounds. And the one thing I kept running into was, okay, so it was missed fairway, but I missed it by 3 feet. Why do I want to count that as a miss? Or I'm on the fringe, and I'm putting it from a foot off the green with a putter, and I 3-putt, but I wasn't on the green, so it's not a 3-putt. So then when I review my stats at the end of the month, at the end of the summer, what do I need to work on? Well, your 3-putt percentage is a little bit high. Well, it's not really good data. And then you talk about things like, missing it in the right spots. If you're playing a course that's got light, fluffy rough, which thankfully a lot of us play, public course, and also many private clubs make sure they're not going to make the rough punishing, right? Missing it in the light, fluffy rough is often as good, if not better, depending on the angle of approach. So what good are stats, I guess, is my question. What good are stats?
It just depends on your personality type. Some people need a road or a path to get to where they want to get to. And some people see it in numbers. I do not. I'm an English major guy. Greens are regulation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
The only thing.
To me, it's
GIR is it.
Putting on a green in regulation. In other words, fringe, 5 feet in front. Anytime you putt.
Okay. Buddy, what about you? What stat matters?
I would agree with greens and regulations. I mean, I like to think if I'm hitting my driver well, I want to know if I'm hitting fairways. So if I were to say, hey, I missed 3 fairways today, I hit it pretty good, that makes me feel good. You don't need to get over analyzing some of this stuff. But, yeah, if you hit a good amount of greens, no matter how bad you're putting, you can still score.
Yep.
I always thought there should be a stat called fairways or effective, I don't know what the stat would be, but effective driving is what I called it.
That's what greens and regulation really is. Greens and regulation just sits in the middle, and then everything is defined around it.
Yeah, but if your iron play stinks, though, you're going to miss a lot of greens after good drives.
Correct. And if your driving game stinks,
CJ's raising his hand on that one.
Yeah, and if your driving game stinks, you're not going to have a chance to hit greens.
I would. So once upon a time when I was keeping these stats, I then started to keep track of what I called effective driving. So in other words, if I hit a drive that was maybe not in the fairway, but was still a good enough drive in terms of hit long enough and straight enough that I had a reasonable shot at the green, that was considered a good drive. Because sometimes you pop it up into the fairway.
And you're
fairway hit.
Right.
What good does that do you?
Sometimes you just aim wrong and you hit it really well. And you realize.
Well, then you gotta count intentional effective driving. Did I mean to do that? Is the next fairway over count as a fairway hit if there's a clear shot to the green from there?
You're exactly right with that stat. That's all it should be. That's all it should be. Do I have the opportunity to hit it on the green from here? No matter where it is.
Effective driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, how's my effective driving?
Totally.
But that said, what does that stat then tell you?
It tells you that you had a chance to hit, so then you can go back to the irons.
I know. That's literally what it tells you. But what is the value of it to know it as a golfer?
Well, then it's either your iron game stinks, and that's why you're not doing it, right? Or your iron that you put yourself into position.
But wouldn't you know that you drive it okay and your iron game? Like, what do we need to know about the stats? What does it really tell us? What is instructive about it?
Because that's what you can maybe spend the extra 5 minutes per practice on.
But I guess my point is it doesn't reveal anything.
Okay.
It's not a revealing stat.
Well, like for me, when I play, it doesn't matter what tee that I play. I'm going to score the same score almost every time. And the reason is because I miss a lot of greens.
Right.
Even whether I'm hitting a freaking pitching wedge to a 7-iron, I miss a lot of greens. So.
And your short game probably needs to be a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, my short game's okay, and my putting, I think, is above average.
You're just missing too many greens.
I just miss too many greens.
That's what I'm saying. Greens and regulation sits in the middle. Then everything kind of spines off of it. So if you say, all right, I'm hitting 6 greens in regulation, CJ's saying he's hitting 6 greens in regulation, then what he does, and this isn't during the round, then what he says is, all right, how many chances did I have to hit those greens? Effective drives.
Right.
Well, I had 14.
Right.
All right, good. So I'm driving the ball pretty good. Don't have to work on that as hard. I just got to figure out my irons.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to what Hank Haney preaches still about penalty avoidance and 2-chip avoidance. So in other words, if you can go through a round, no penalty strokes, no OB, no water, and you can get every chip or pitch within 50 yards on the green and not have to do it again, you're making out like a bandit.
Yeah, but that's a statistic, Zane.
It's a principle. It's not a stat.
Did you see the face? Like he's a third grader?
Calculated.
Oh, you're right.
It's not a stat. It's a principle. The principle is avoid penalties and avoid 2 chips.
It's basically
It's a different
conservative.
stat.
It's being conservative. It's like just accomplish it enough.
Or it's like just using it to manage the golf course is what you're saying. It's what Harrington was saying.
Okay.
When he was talking about 5, and he was like, well, I could have hit it over here and had 190, but in the fairway, or I could cut it over there and hit it and have 150 from the rough, and I feel good about hitting it 150 from the rough rather than 190. So,
all right. How about exit question? Then we'll end the show. What is one scoring revelation you have had in your lifetime about golf that you think is something everybody should realize? I'll start while you guys stew on this because I did not prep you on this. I have come to realize that on any par 3 with water, you must avoid the water at all costs. Not all water on the golf course is created equal. Water on a par 4 is less damaging than a par 3, and water on a par 5 is even less damaging than that. On a par 3, if it's in the water, you're probably, as an amateur, going to make a double because you're probably not going to get it up and down from wherever you drop out of the water. So you should approach every par 3 that has water with oh boy, I ain't messing with that horse. I'm going over here. That's my one scoring revelation. It took me forever to kind of finally realize, oh, that's right. Par 3s, there's no slack in the par to make up for your screw-up.
I think that's a really good one. You've mentioned that before. I think it's a really, really good one. I don't think I have anything that's as good as that.
All right.
I will say, though, the most underestimated skill in golf is lag putting. So my theory is to help your score that you never think about particularly making those long putts. It's all about your speed.
It's all about the bucket.
Yeah, because
put it up to the bucket.
Yeah, you're going to have a chance if you think about the speed. So I know that's not as good as yours.
No, that's
but
good.
It's
that's
something
good.
that lag putting is something that as adults, as kids, we sit there on 100-foot putts across the green. As adults, we're like, drop 6 balls around the green and whatever. Yeah. You should practice 50-foot putts.
I would imagine, buddy, us amateurs rarely practice lag putting.
Well, I actually, funny you say that. I'm going to build off of 2 things. One, your par 3 thing is great. The problem and the difficulty with golf is, we've got a hole number 6 at Westwood. We've got water on the right. So it's like, all right, all you got to do is stay left. Well, if you go left and there's the bunker there, now you brought the water back into play, right?
Yeah.
So you can't get too crazy with just avoiding the water, but so the sport's just difficult. But the lag putting thing, I just watched, and it was Harrington, I believe, say when you're lag putting, you want to hit it to the high side a couple more feet because, and he showed the examples, because as that ball's resting, it's moving towards the hole as opposed to away from the hole. And so that's helped me with my lag putting because I started saying, you know what, I'm not going to make this putt, so I might as well miss it in a spot that's going to only climb closer to the hole.
Yeah.
So pretty cool.
All right, CJ, yours?
I don't subscribe to this, but no hero shots.
It's a great one, CJ.
Don't compound your mistakes. If you hit a bad tee shot, don't try to, hit some slice 4-iron.
Don't be like club pro
right.
guy and say my punch-out game is elite. Watch this.
Yeah.
Well, I say that to the kids, though. I'm like, so how many times do you practice that shot? I'm going to cut this one. I'm in 2-inch rough, and I'm going to cut it 30 yards off this. I go, well, physically impossible, but also how many times do you practice that shot? Never.
Yeah.
Okay. You gonna pull it out now in the state championship? Yeah.
I will say, though, when you do pull it off, man, what a feeling.
yeah.
It is
feel
great.
like a pro.
It is great. All right, let's wrap it this week. Mr. Ronas, Beacon Hill is going to be open come June. Do tell.
Yeah, we are opening. I think we're opening up this Friday. So as this airs, it'll probably only be a couple days away, and it will be fun. It will be really quite enjoyable to see the progression. It's already progressed. I can't wait to show you guys the story, because the story.
Are these the first official rounds on this course?
Really official, yeah.
In how many years?
18.
18 years.
Yeah.
So it finally went under. It was beautiful 18 years ago. It's going to be beautiful again.
Disappeared.
But went dormant for 18 years. There's a lot of tree stumps in areas you can't remove yet because you're waiting for permits.
I mean, those are on the side, obviously, not in the fairway.
No, obviously, but still, there's just, there's stuff that you're still waiting to fluff up on.
Sure.
And this is really cool. So this is a true resurrection coming on June 1st.
It's really, really cool.
So let's say you're in the DMV and you want to join a club and you want to get into the ground floor. What should they do?
You can call me.
Okay.
You can get on our website, beaconhill.com or beaconhillgolf.com, and or follow us on Facebook, whatever it may be. There's Jeff King is our membership director. Look, it's something that you're going to be part of, something that's going to be, I think, extremely special. And you're getting in on, the ground floor.
Yep.
There are give and take to getting in on the ground floor. We all know that. But I encourage people to come out and even just drive around the neighborhood if you want to and see some of the holes. But I'm honored to be part of it. We're going to design one more hole coming up here, which I want to be part of the design of. So that will be really enjoyable, and I'm just looking forward to it and meeting all the people. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Will Steve Spurrier hit the opening tee shot?
He will not.
CJ, tell people about Spurrier at Beacon Hill when he was coach here for that unglorious 2 years.
Oh, well, he was a member there. I mean, that was the early years of Beacon Hill, right? Yeah. And, I mean, I think he spent more time there than one.
There's no question.
Designing ball plays, right?
Than one Redskin drive.
He would duck out of training camp practice in summer to get in an emergency 9 with no shame.
Yeah, no shame.
And like one drop of rain, I heard that he would just be, got canceled. And he'd be on that golf course saying,
the rain would cancel practice in the
football. He would cancel practice.
But he'd still play golf.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't going to rain. It would just be one drop. And hindsight's 50-50.
Yeah.
It sure is. Always is 50-50.
Yeah.
All right. Buddy, what's up?
Well, we're here in the summer, so looking forward to – I can't wait to come out there and see Beacon Hill. I used to play it back in the day.
Yeah.
Doing it. Congratulations, too. That's, I know that's
Thanks.
hard work, you and your salt shaker seed out there.
Yeah. Still got Mother Nature to do a little bit extra, but it's good.
Are all the seeds coming up that you salt shaked in a couple weeks ago? You seen any?
You know
growth
what?
spurts?
It's a little bit of a difficult story to tell because this is also the time that you have to spray a pre-emergent for weeds. So I saw some of my babies get born and then
die.
Yeah.
That is tough.
But some of them came.
Really, the grass-grown season's the fall.
Yeah. So we'll hit it again hard in the fall, but. Yeah.
All right. So come on in here, buddy. Get fit. I know your fitters do a great job, and they loan us this center bay for an hour a week. And I'm sorry for anyone that's like, I wanted to come get fit. They got other bays, though, here.
They do.
Callaway Bay, Taylor May Bay.
And we've got other
Titleist
hours.
Bay. Yeah.
So it's fun having you guys in here all the time. And but John's plenty busy, and he can work his schedule around our hour that we're in here.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Yeah. CJ, anything from you?
Yep. Our 19th annual SMGA Charity Golf Classic is coming up this Monday, June 2nd at Norbeck Country Club in Rockville, Maryland, just outside the D.C. area. And it'll be a massive day for us as we are approaching our 20th year for helping veterans through the great game of golf.
I love it. Thank you guys for coming today, and thank you for listening and being a faithful Capital Golf Gang listener. Remember, golf balls sometimes stop, sometimes they stay in motion. We're always in motion, except for when we're on the couch after mowing the lawn and watching golf on TV. Then we have definitely come to rest, and we are snoring. Thanks for listening, everybody. Get out and play some golf, and we will see you next time on the Capital Golf Gang.
This has been the Capital Golf Gang. If you'd like the gang to visit your home course, send your inquiries to Zabe at yahoo.com. That's CZABE at yahoo.com. And for free swag, we're all in extra large. So yeah, thanks for the shirts.
The 2025 golf season is in full bloom at Golfdom and Worldwide Golf. The snow is gone, the grass is green, and the birds are singing, and hope abounds for the best golf season of your life. But you won't play your best with just any old discount equipment off the rack. You need clubs and a ball that fits your game, and that's where Golfdom comes in. Expert club fittings are not just for pros, it's for you and me. And I've personally seen the fitting ninjas at Golfdom extract distance and accuracy from everyday players just by putting them in the right shafts and lofts. When it comes to apparel, Golfdom is a fashionista's nirvana. Every major brand, all styles, and golf wear for every season and every condition. Bags, shoes, push carts, boom boxes, tees, gloves, training aids, towels, head covers, umbrellas, rangefinders, the list goes on and on. And they've got an armory of golf ball ammunition large enough to launch an assault on a Scottish castle. So just like the new season of the Capital Golf Gang being in full bloom, so too is golf season at Golfdom. Get into any location in the DMV, Tysons, Rockville, and Annapolis, or shop online at golfdomgolf.com, or wherever you go, look for the Worldwide Golf logo and get the best for your game.